Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you, Adam.
Cool. Okay. I'm actually going to go ahead and get started here since it's 12 o'clock and we want to make sure that we stay on track. So thanks everybody so much for attending this first GraphQL Texas event. And the first talk is going to be Headless CMS, real-time video, and code generators. And it's going to last till about 2:30 Central Time. And I'm going to take you through just a brief rundown of what GraphQL is, who our speakers are, who's sponsoring the event as well. And in between speakers, we'll have a short Q&A session with the speaker that just finished up, and then we'll move on to the next speaker from there. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or use the chat feature to let us know. So my name is Adam Klink. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at BoltSource, who is the sponsor of GraphQL Texas. And then we also have Andrew Ryan on here, who is the CEO of BoltSource. And we really started GraphQL Texas because we're heavy advocates of using GraphQL, and there wasn't much of a presence here in Austin from just a connection standpoint with the community, connecting with local experts in this space. So we created this a couple of months ago. This is our first event, and we are going to continue to do these on a monthly basis. They will typically take place towards the end of the month. So the next one will probably be around September 24th or so. And then we'll have one after that each consecutive month. We will also have a larger event. You know, hopefully COVID is dwindling down, but you know, none of us know. So hopefully we will be able to host a live event, an in-person event, sometime over the next 12 months. And that first event will more than likely take place in Austin. So be on the lookout for more information on that. And then we also host a group called React Texas. So focusing heavily on React Native and React, that we also host and administer. So to give you a little background on BoltSource, we are a firm that helps companies build amazing digital experiences. We do technical advising, so we will help a lot of startups or larger companies come in, help adopt new technology, or their founders may need help just scaling the technical org. So we'll come in and help companies to do things like that. The other thing is staff augmentation. So we can come in, help your team really focus on adopting new technologies, come in and help scale your internal projects or products, and then also product development. So the full scale, come in, help design, develop, deploy, and iterate on the product vision. And we really focus on 4 core technologies: React, React Native, Node.js, and then GraphQL. And then to meet your speakers, so we've got, first off, Carlos Rufo. He is a software engineer at Graph CMS. We've got Nader Dabbit, and he is the senior developer advocate for AWS. And then Gabo Esquivel, he is the software engineer at BoltSource. And then just to break down the schedule, so Carlos is going to start off here at about 12:15, and he's going to talk about GraphQL native headless CMS, and then a Q&A time at 12:45, and then followed up by Nader Dabbit, who will be rapidly prototyping, and then QA time for him, and then finishing off with Gabo, who will be focusing on GraphQL and TypeScript code generation, and then also a Q&A time as well. and that will finish up the event for today. And I know we're a little bit early. We're about 10 minutes early. So we're going to start off with Carlos here. And he is going to be doing actually a live coding session. He's going to explore Graph CMS and the GraphQL API to build sites that everybody kind of envisioned. And then together with React, TypeScript, and Next.js, he's going to create a new evolution of GraphQL Texas site. So our event site, and focusing on the incredible DX these technologies may provide. So I am going to hand off control to Carlos, and he can go ahead and get started.
Thanks so much, Adam. I hope that you can hear me well. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to be here today. As you can see, I've just moved virtually to Austin, Texas for my very first time, and I think this meetup is gonna be awesome. There are a lot of stuff planned, and I'm super looking forward to start this session. So for today, first, let me share my screen because I have a huge screen and I'm gonna try to share just a portion of it. So I guess now you should be able to see it. Now I have to just double check that I have access to it because sometimes I don't have it. So let me check. Can you guys see my screen? Just let me know when you can, so I can know that. Any panelists that can help me out with that?
Yeah, we got you. We can see.
That's perfect. Yeah, so for today, I got some time, so that's awesome. And we are gonna be doing a lot of stuff. So first, I want to quick intro myself. I don't have the slides. I strongly believe the best code is no code. So the best slides are not the slides at all. So I'm gonna quick intro myself. So I'm Carlos Rufan, a software engineer at Graph CMS. If you have any question, please just go to Twitter, SW Carlos Arja on Twitter and GitHub everywhere. And for today, we are gonna start giving away some cool stickers. I guess we cannot meet in person, but yeah, we can ship you some sticker for free. So just let me try to figure out where is the chat, so I can send you guys these stickers. Let me just, this is not what I wanted to do here. This should be here. There are so many screens that I have open, but I can guess that this will be the chat. I guess, let me check. If not, someone in the room can just go on share this because I cannot open the chat QA, participant, more chat here, maybe. Okay, got it. I think I found it. So let me just send it to you guys. So here's some free stickers. You can just open, fill the form, and we will ship to your place so you don't have even to move. So the second thing that we are gonna do is gonna be a quick live coding, and we are gonna build a blog post with Graph CMS and Vercel. We have a quick game, which is gonna be you gotta guess how many seconds it's gonna take to build this. So I'm gonna open the timer first, and we are gonna put here, and you gotta just put in the chat between 0 and 600, kind of how many seconds it's gonna take to build a kind of full blog from from scratch, using Graph CMS as a backend and using Next.js and React as a frontend and deploying to Vercel. So I guess that I'm not sure if the people they know. Yeah, I can see people right in the chat. So please, I'm gonna just put it here. Please put share your bet between 0 to 600 seconds. Okay, we have TC Casey that it says 180. 180 is 3 minutes, right? Yeah, that's such a short time. But yeah, we will see. I'm gonna give just some time. Alejandro says 300, Giancarlo 300, 240 Patrick, and Leila 300. So whoever is close to these numbers is gonna get the free book from Nader's David. So Nader has released his latest book, which is Nader's David book. I think it's like full stack serverless. Yeah, here it is. So I'm gonna give away this book, which is awesome. And it has a really nice content about React, AWS, and GraphQL. So whoever is like closer to the number, it is gonna get it. So I'm gonna give like just a 30-second more for the people to kind of just answer. I'm having some issues like with the serious screen, which is not good, but yeah, let me try to, okay. 350, all between like 400, 300, 450, 240, 500. Okay, that's good. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna give like some more time, I guess, because there are gonna be people joining. So if you just join, please put the number between 0 and 600, and we are gonna hit start, and then we are gonna try to build this. So let me prepare, damn it, again. This is going to be difficult. Okay, let me try again. If I have the control of the browser, not yet. Again, not yet. I would like to understand how this works though. Why sometimes I can't, why sometimes I cannot. Okay, I'm gonna give couple more seconds for the last people to serve their bets, and then I'm gonna hit, and I'm gonna hit play, and we are gonna go to see. Okay, I think I'm good, so I'm not gonna miss. Okay, I think we're good. So okay, I'm gonna start I just gonna open this. Okay, that's good. So okay, I think I'm ready. I'm not sure if I'm ready. I'm feeling the pressure right now, but yeah, let's do this. I think like you are like close to the test that I've done, so let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. So first, I'm gonna go to the app, CMS, and I'm gonna create a new project. So we are gonna use the blog starter. I'm gonna use a name that is gonna be a GraphQL Texas plot. I'm gonna choose Europe because I'm here in Spain right now. And we're gonna create a project. And then we gotta choose the tire. Please try out this 0. It's just 0, it's free. You don't have any credit card required, so you can try out GraphCMS for free. So we are gonna use that, and we are gonna create and clone the project. Then we gotta go to Vercel Nest.js. We are gonna use a template, which is gonna be under the examples. I love Nest.js, by the way. And then we are gonna find a GraphCMS, which is here. Then I'm gonna hit deploy, and we are going to select the grid repository from the example, which is this one. Then we are gonna use our account. Then we are gonna just call it GraphQL Texas blog, I guess. We're gonna continue. Then we are gonna put a project name, which is gonna be GraphQL Texas blog. And then we need to put these variables here. So let's check how much time. 1 minute, it's already 120. Our project is already created. We are gonna go to settings. We're gonna go to API access. We copy the endpoint. Then we go back. Then we copy the dev out token. This is the prod. Let me check again. This is the dev. So I'm gonna copy the dev here. And then this is gonna be the prod. And we should be good to go to wait for Vercel to deploy. I need a secret. I can just put any secret. And we are gonna just deploy. I know that, I don't know like how much time it's gonna take, but Vercel is gonna be super fast. I'm not sure if I'm sharing my screen though, because it said that it's paused. I'm gonna try to share it again. I can see another now, but I'm gonna just go and share my screen again, portion of the screen. Now, so we should be good. So we are building here, so we can see our timer, 2 minutes to 23 seconds. So that's kind of like 200 something. We are building, so we are getting close to the end. We are getting like pretty close. The Vercel is pretty fast. So generating is done. I think like the build is done. We can see here the different like chunks and paused, and it's gonna be done. So I'm gonna just stop it here. So 2 minutes, 48 seconds. First, let's check, congratulations, we got the blog post. Let's first check if that is working as expected. So we're gonna have a graph text block versa.app, and here we have our pause. So that looks, that is working, which is great. So let's check the timer again. So it's like 2.48. So 2 times 6, like 180. 180 plus 20 plus 28, 228, if I'm not wrong. Again, I cannot see the chat, and this is super annoying. So 228, but there are like a lot of numbers. I can see 280. I can see, okay, so I think like the panelists, you can help me out to see, to know who was the person that got closer to the time. So 248, it should be
like 240,
that, right?
Patrick Sturger, yeah. Looks like he's
240, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jeff Ling, but there are like two 240s. I can see Patrick Sturger, Jeff Lingard. I can see
We want to go
320.
FIFO, first in, first win.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So it should be, let me check. Patrick Steger, right? The first one that replied. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, we will check it out later. But yeah, please, after my talk, we can chat and I will hit you up, or you can hit me on Twitter, and I will give you the big. But yeah, so the good thing is like in let's say like in 3 minutes, you might have a blog post with all your backend side, and that you from now we can introspect a bit this. So for example, this is our blog post, and we are gonna have like different like models. You have the author, the page, the post. Let me open for it bigger. I think it's better. So we're gonna have authors and page and post. So let's say that we are gonna have a different author. So here my colleagues from CMS, Rona, Jesse, Jonathan, and Jamie. And let's say that I wanna add a new post, and I have to say hello, GraphQL Texas maybe, right? So I can just go a new author. It's gonna be Carlos Rufo. I can just select a picture that I'm gonna upload from my computer. So I can just go to Carlos and pictures, and I should have here one. This is too big, maybe 110 is good. So we're gonna upload a new photo. So I can just select it, the title, I'm a software engineer. And then also I want to create a new post. So that's a really good thing about GraphCMS, that you can create a new post within your kind of like your edit view already, because you're gonna have like this relationship that we're gonna see later how we can do this. And I want to create a new post that is gonna be a hello GraphQL Texas. And then we can just like copy Slack. It's gonna be this, lowercase, whatever. And then we can put the day that is gonna be today. And here we might have a content that is gonna be content. And an author, as I'm already like saving this, and I'm gonna publish and save this, there is that relationship is gonna be here. So even in my edit view, I'm gonna have access to my posts, so I can see them. So I'm gonna save and publish this, which is gonna be great. And then we can go back to Vercel. I'm gonna open the dashboard for this. I'm gonna go to the deployments, and I'm gonna redeploy these to see the new post. So it's gonna be spec development, and I think here there is a redeploy. Some stuff that my team is working on is anytime that you are publishing any content in your kind of like in your main site in GraphCMS, you're gonna trigger a event to kind of like make this auto deployment in whether it's gonna be like Vercel or it's gonna be Gatsby Cloud, which is awesome because you don't have to, like care about that stuff. And yet here, like there are like really cool stuff because, for example, like let's say that I want to later, we're gonna see how we're gonna make the evolution for the GraphQL Texas side. But let's say that I want to get this data, so I can just say like Praveen in the playground, and I already have here all the query with all the edges, all the node, where I can get all my data. So I can just like copy this query and just go to my editor and just like take it from there. So that's great. I can see here in the chat that people they are like asking about the different seconds, but yeah, we will like adjust it. I have like the record of the chat, and we will see who was the winner. Yeah, so I guess that it should be the build fail. I don't know why. Let me check. Okay, I think because I forgot to add the image, and I really want to add the image because I have an image for it though. So this one, it has to have an image, and I'm gonna upload. And also another cool feature is like if I go to meetup, GraphQL Texas, I can just get the image from here. That is gonna be, I guess I can get this one, not from here, but there is a photo, which is here. So I can get this copy link address, and I can go to the Graph CMS. I can go to the link URL. I can just pass the URL, and I'm gonna download the photo, and I'm gonna upload to my database. So I want to get this. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it and publish. I'm gonna also publish the asset in this case, and we are going to redeploy again. I gotta say also, I love Vercel. They're like super fast. I guess in 30 seconds, we're gonna have redeploy our site, which is great. And yeah, so that's gonna be for this kind of live coding demo. We have time. And after that, what we are gonna do is, in the GraphQL Texas side, we have 3 sections. We have the info, the speakers, and the schedule. I'm gonna add a new tab that is gonna be called for paper, and we're gonna add a new section here that is gonna be for submit any code that you might want to. That's gonna be really good, because we're gonna see how we can fetch data from Graph CMS. Also, how we're gonna do the mutations, and how fast is kind of like making this evolution with TypeScript and Vercel. So yeah, this will be live. So here we have our blog post, and in 30 seconds, we already have like our blog, which is Hello GraphQL Texas of the day of today, with my name as an author, and the content here we will put whatever. So if you really want to host your own content, just please feel free to go to Graph CMS app, graphcms.com, and just like register for free, get the template, and just in I think it was 2.48 minutes, under 300 seconds, or around like 300 seconds, like you should be good to go. Awesome. So yeah, we can go next. And then what we're gonna do is like now, thanks, I gotta say thanks a lot to the GraphQL Texas organization team, because they provided me a clone of GraphQL Texas. So we can check this a bit out first, and then we can just see where the information is coming from, also the code base a bit. And then yeah, we can go. And I can see the chat, and I think that TC cases, or if I mispronounce your name, you might be right about the seconds. That's great. Yeah, so we can see here in the site we have a event. So here we have our event, our first event. We have some info, description, and even it might have speakers, and also it should have a schedule that is going to be contained of talks. Yeah, and that should be it, right? So we're going to see how this is being modeled. So we can go into our content. We're going to have an event. This will be only one, which is here. And we have a meetup ID, and it's complete true or false, a date, a title, and a slug, and a description, and other stuff here, right? Which is all the talks. And here I just add all these forms is some data that I added to go like a bit faster on the live coding. And then we're going to focus on the yeah, I will, Patrick, Jeff, I will ship something to you guys for the confusion, of course. Yeah, so we have like the company. So here we can see the BoltSource, CMS, and AWS. We might see the speaker, that it should be Carlos, Nader, and Gabo. And also we're gonna have the talks that are gonna be, I guess, the GraphQL native Headless CMS, this one, then Nest, Nader, Rapid prototyping, and then to finish off the GraphQL and TypeScript code jam, which is gonna be awesome. Great, so now we got the site and we got the backend, so we have seen the data, and now we're gonna go to the front end, and we're gonna see how this is being displayed and how we can make the evolution. So I'm gonna open the GraphQL Texas site. It's in GitHub, so it's open source, which is awesome. So I made a fork, and from here we are gonna start and just hit yarn dev, I guess. We can just open it up. We can start to see that we are getting data. So maybe not now because I have to copy the API access. So I might have to get the endpoint. Let me check what we get here. If we get the data, it's because I already have it. So in the env local, okay, I have already the tokens. I don't care to display the tokens because it's a clone project and I'm gonna just remove these tokens after the talk. So we need a graph CMS endpoint that is mine. And also later we're gonna use the mutation token, which is already here, which is awesome. That's why this is working. So you can see that we are localhost, but we have the same info because I'm using the clone project. Awesome. And let me put this a bit bigger. Great. Timing is good. Yes, we should be good. Okay, so now what we are gonna do first is like check the code base. So we have in Nest, as you might see, as you might know, we have this way of kind of indicate the different pages that we are gonna build. In this case, we have just one event, so we are gonna get just this. And we are gonna get the event 4 page with the Slack for this SDK that the team has created. So I didn't do anything here. You can see the history. So Kevin, it looks like that has coded everything, which is awesome. Here we're gonna get all the stuff with we can see here with GraphQL client from GraphQL request, right? Providing the GraphQL endpoint. Great, so we can see here, this is the main component. So where we have the layout, the CEO, and then header, info, speaker, schedule, and share. So that's kind of like pretty similar to what we got here, right? The header, the info, the speaker, the schedule, and the share, right? So let's just check that this is working as expected. So we can just change the share component, which should be here. And it doesn't, okay, this is event share. So event share, let's just put some stuff here. And then we can see here, this is working, so that's great. So the first thing that I gotta do is like config the prettier, because you can see here what is happening when I auto setting. So I'm just gonna create a new, let me check, what is my screen sharing? I'm not sure if I'm screen sharing everything right now or just a, can you guys see my Visual Code Studio right now? Just
yeah,
double checking that. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, that's great. Awesome. So I'm gonna keep continue. So first, what I'm gonna do is like create a. I'm gonna just create a prettier file. So dot prettier rc, and just get this. So we are set up. So we should be here good right now. Let me check if I created where I should. That it should be not there. It should be just here. Awesome. So now we should be good. So if I go to my event share, now we should be good to go. Awesome. I'm gonna just remove this. So we should be ready to code. Okay, so up next, what we are gonna do is create the new section. So if we go here, we have a component for every section. So let's check that I'm gonna just copy event info and I'm gonna just put it at the end, and I'm gonna call it, I don't know, CFP maybe. And this is gonna need a form, and then we are gonna pass that, okay? And then we are gonna copy that component. So let's go to event info, maybe, it was this one, right? Yep, so I'm just gonna copy, paste it, that we can do it quickly, CFP, and then we can just change the name here a bit quick. CFP. Okay, so that'll be good. We are gonna have instead of a description, we should get here a form. Yeah, form. And now we're gonna see with this form where it's come from. I'm gonna just quick remove some stuff here. I don't need this. I'm gonna leave the grid in case that I need it. Not sure though, but yeah, just in case. And I can remove this. And I think that I need here a couple divs. And we should be good to go. And I think this is, yeah, this is gone. Okay, and here I can get, there is a schedule. I know that there is a header that it has an HU here. So I can just go and put it here, and this is gonna be CFP. Okay, so that should work. So we can go back. Okay, this is not defined. That makes sense because, okay, this is good. We can also remove the markdown, and now we gotta import it. So here we have it, but we didn't import it yet. So we should be here, and this should be an error because we don't have yet, we didn't auto-generate them yet, but we will do. Great, so if we go back, we should be good to go. And we have our new section that is going to be CFP and is empty yet, which makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna create a new one. This is gonna be CFP, and then we are gonna have here they can. I think that is like a MacBook something that it was pretty interesting. MacBook Pro icon. So MacBook Pro. Let's see if that works. Icon MacBook Pro. Let me check. Develop and define icons variant. Maybe it's because of not that name MacBook Pro. I can just like copy the name maybe. MacBook Pro icon, MacBook. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Let me just check if we have auto completion here in TypeScript. Now I can just, okay, that's awesome. That's the good thing of TypeScript. So it was, yeah, like this K. That was the problem. Okay, so we have our CFP that we're gonna put an ID that is gonna be, I think this one. And here we just have to change this for this. So now if we have it, okay, we get. So that's awesome. So now what we're gonna do is like, if you might think, maybe what we could do here is just start like with a, I don't know, we want 5 inputs. Let me just go here. And we could just create, I don't know, input and like name, and they're gonna have like different names, whatever, and then we can do that, right? But what we're gonna try to do is like, we are gonna try to define our form in our backend side. And we're gonna be able also to order it. We're gonna be able to like represent the information from our backend side and match and make some components in the front end and match that information so we can decide what it goes to there, because also later we are gonna see how we can also send that information and everything is gonna be related. Great, so I'm gonna go back to the CMS and here, and I'm gonna explain a bit what we have done here. So we can see that an event in our model, so this is Graph CMS, we have the schema view, and this is the content view. These are the assets, and this is the API playground. For if you know, it's here we have like all the images, and here we have all the content, for example, all the companies. So this is kind of like our database view, and here our like model, how we model the different classes with the different like fields and all that kind of stuff, types with fields. So we can see that an event, it has a form. So it kind of makes sense that there's each event, it should have a CFP. So the people that are gonna submit several talks for a meetup. And after that, you're gonna have like several submissions. With those submissions, you are gonna select which speakers they are gonna go through different meetups, right? So what we have declared is a form. So I think that's gonna be really good to see in the content view, because we can see kind of like all the models and all the data. So an event, which is our event here, is gonna have a form. So if we click in the edit button, so we are gonna see what this form contains. So it's gonna contain some fields, and of course, like it has to contain an event, because there has to be a like mutual like correlation between the event with the form and the event. And also it's gonna be associated to a page. So in the fields, we have like different types. As you can see here, we have a for checkbox, a for input, and for this area. Maybe we can represent this in HTML as input, this area, and checkbox, or I don't know, any, I mean, there are inputs, right? Input checkbox, input and input this area. But yeah, we can have like other libraries that they are gonna provide us those elements. And then we are gonna define here what we have. So for example, like for a CFP, what we might have is the name of the speaker, the role, the email, the tag title, the tag abstract, and a checkbox that is gonna have the terms and privacy policy, right? To submit those PID data. So let's say even like I want to have kind of the email, the name, the email, the role, the title, the abstract, and the checkbox. Those are gonna have like their types. I'm gonna just hit and save and publish this. And with that, the first thing that we're gonna do is like get this form data, because actually this is a new data from the CMS that I added to this project. So we're gonna see how we can get this. So we could do kind of like this easily with like just hit preview playground. So we're gonna see here kind of like all the fields. So for this event, we have the name. So we can see here the fields. So we have a name, we have a email, and we have the role, etc. So I can just like get the fields for this form. Even I can go, yeah, okay. I think I can just like get this, though I might refactor it later. Okay, I can get this. So then I'm gonna go to my GraphQL query because I need this form there, right? At the moment, I don't have anything here. It is empty. So I can go to our GraphQL schema GraphQL, and we can see here that an event is gonna have all this data plus a schedule. So we can just add a form, and a form is gonna have some fields, right? And those fields, we can remove this for now. And I guess also, I'm not gonna need this, so I can just like, let's remove it. And we're gonna have like something like this. I'm gonna just like copy what I have in my example, because that is gonna be easier for make this faster a bit. So I'm gonna just get this from my other screen that maybe you cannot see it, but I can see it. So I can get this, and we are gonna add just this. That is gonna be like super similar. So we're gonna be getting the ID for fields. We're gonna get the type net that we needed, and then we're gonna get some here with some aliases. Great. So a really cool thing that I love from GraphQL is like, for example, I might be right or I might be wrong with the query, right? But what I'm gonna do is just like execute yarn generate. So this side is using GraphQL codegen, as you can see here. So we're gonna load the schema, and we're gonna auto-generate the new types. So we can just see them. And I guess Gabo is gonna be talking about it, but we are gonna auto-generate like the new stuff. I know like, there are like too many changes, I guess, because of the way of like generating all the version, maybe because I'm using another like global version. But what I can already see is that that form is already assessed. And even we can do a form dot, and I have already all the data, which is awesome. So I can just go and first we're gonna just ensure that this contains some data. But that's pretty good because already I know the data that I'm gonna come from just like putting the new data in the query and just auto-generating the types. So I can just say, okay, console log from this, and also from the, I don't know, whatever it has, the steps, the ID, whatever, I don't know. And we can just go back and check in our site, localhost. This is the production site. This is the localhost. So we can check that this is, at the moment, is undefined. So we're gonna see why. Let's check again, let's refresh. Here we got the data already, right? So we can see the ID of the form, and we can see the fields, which is great. So we have already the data. So we have our fields. So now we're gonna represent the different input fields that we have declared. So we're gonna represent 1, 2, 3, 4 inputs, 1 text area, and 1 checkbox, and also the submit button. So I'm just gonna go, and the next step is gonna create the components. So basically I'm gonna just copy and paste the component from the example that I've done. I will, at the end of my talk, I will send this to the chat, the PR, and also I'm gonna create a pull request to the production side of the GraphQL Texas website if they want to kind of like, it's not like finished, but they can also reuse it and like incorporate to their side. So what I'm gonna do is create like the different components that I have declared. So I'm gonna go and create a new. So we're gonna have components UI icon. So maybe here is gonna be a new folder that is gonna be forms, and this form there's gonna have inputs, maybe forms, whatever. I will see later, and I'm gonna call it form input.tsx. And I'm just gonna create this. We can see here that first we're gonna be using React Hook form. Later I'm gonna say why, so I'm gonna add it. And we are gonna see here how we are gonna represent, because the other inputs, they are gonna be the same. So we're gonna have a component that is gonna match the data that is coming from the database. So let's say that we have here, we have declared an input label, a name, a placeholder, required type. So this is like enough information that a input needs in order to render and also to put the content right. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna just have the label that is gonna be the name that is coming from that database, and also we're gonna have an input. This is like plain HTML with Tailwind, I guess. Then we're gonna put the name and the type and some styling, and that's it. So there is no like black magic here. Let me just do the other components. So we have a for input, we have a form text area.tsx. And if it could go wrong in a live coding, but yeah, let's hope for the best. And also we need a checkbox. And then form checkbox.tsx. Checkbox, okay, that looks good. Great, so we have these, and also I guess that we need the index where we are gonna be able to import them. So forms in the TSX, so I think we are doing pretty good. And we are getting close. I don't know how we're going time. Yeah, I think we good. Yeah, 30-minute plug. I'm gonna get like some time of QA, but yeah. So we get the stuff here, so that's great. We got that, so that's good. So now we're gonna be able to represent this, and now we're gonna see how we can do that. And we're like super close to finish it off, by the way. So now we have to create kind of like all our, we are gonna represent our data. So I'm gonna just like grab this stuff from here. So I'm gonna just like change this, and we're gonna see the stuff that we've got. So we need also some states. So we are gonna use some react states here because we gotta control like if we have some errors or we don't. So let me just get this done, and then we will explain how we are gonna do it here. We are gonna get a form provider for React hooks, and then we are gonna get the onSubmit that is should come from also from methods, I guess. Let me check where it does onSubmit. It should be handle submit method dots handle submit. Okay, this is because okay, great. Now we're gonna see that. So fields, the fields that should become okay. I'm gonna just like copy the entire file, so that's gonna be easier because I might be missing some other parts. So I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste this, and this should be working. Okay, so now we can see here. So we have our component, we have our success and error. We are gonna do some null checks here. In the form, we have the ID and the fields. So we remember if we see here, we have the fields and the ID, right? So the fields are gonna be the inputs that we have declared, you know, more in CMS. Then we are gonna say this success, so form submitting will be in touch. If not, we are gonna create a form that is gonna have some fields. We are gonna get these fields are all the components. So this is kind of like a super, like really good way to import components. So basically like we are going to this, and basically we are saying as this is an object, we are saying, hey, like get this import and just get me the type name because it's gonna match the declaration of the input that I have declared in my forms folder. So in that way, we're gonna get the field, which is gonna be the component, and then we're gonna render that with the field information that we are getting in our from our database. So that's the way that we are gonna render the different components that we have declared. So for example, if I want to have a select, I can create a form select here, with it has to match the type name that I have put in my backend, and then we can like make the representation, and then we are gonna just like display the option. There is a blog from my colleague Jamie Barton explaining all this stuff, so I was just following his steps, and it works like a charm. So I will send also the link, and you can check it out. So we're gonna have all the fields here, like here we're gonna get all the fields, and then a button that is gonna have onSubmit. That onSubmit is gonna be this function that we are gonna check quickly. We can see here if it's okay, success set true. If not, set error. We are gonna just call a post to this API. This is a pretty awesome also what is happening here. We're gonna send just that, and all the values that are coming from my the values are coming from the submit button that is gonna come from the form. So any field, any input that is gonna be registered with React form, we are gonna get that. So if you see here, we can get, I can make it even bigger if you want it. We can see that we are registering like every single input that we are declaring. So in that way, we are gonna be able to get the values when we are like sending, when we are just doing the onSubmit. So here by default, we are gonna get those values. for all the inputs that we are registering, and then we are gonna just send this to the body. So how this works is here, Nest, I guess, I'm not like an expert in Nest.js, I gotta say, but what is happening here is like we're gonna go to the API folder and we're gonna try to find for a submit function, and we are gonna just like execute that a function, right? So what we have to do here is go to the API folder that it should be somewhere, let me check, components, leave API, let me check where it was, API. Yeah, I think it's here, it's in the pages API here. So here, if we do submit.ts, I guess, I can just double check in my, yeah, here. Okay, that's good. And then we like having this file, whatever, like if we do async function, whatever, I don't know. I think we got exported, but I just gonna go and copy it. We can just like execute this function, and then we are gonna just, anytime that we're calling to that API, we're gonna just like call this this function. That is gonna be kind of like pretty straightforward, I guess. So we got exported, of course. It's gonna be an asynchronous function because we are using async and await here. And then we are gonna get the body with the ID and the data. And then we are gonna just, we need the mutation token. So this is important. You don't want to expose in your project, in your GraphCMS project. Here you have the capabilities in the API access to give permission, for example, in queries, if you want to fetch content for draft or for publish, also mutation, but you don't want to allow to the people, to everybody, you have to do some mutation. So you're gonna create a token that I have it here, and you can just like copy the token, and anybody that has the token is gonna be able to access to those mutation. So we are gonna be calling to the create mutation. So if we go to our content, we go to the submission. In this case, we don't have any. So we are gonna create a submission that is gonna have the form data. So that's gonna be a JSON. And also we gotta pass the ID for the form that we are executing. So that data also is connected. So we got this, we got that. Let's check if everything is represented as we would like to. So I'm gonna just reload. Let's check what we got here. Yeah, so we got the CFP, we got the name, we got the email, we got the role, we got the top title, we got the top abstract, and we got also the checkbox. Let's say that we want to change, I don't know, these to other stuff. Even like we can change the order. So we can go to the GraphCMS, we can go to the form. We can change, for example, I want the role that is gonna be after this, and here I want to change, I don't know, I'm gonna just like, I agree terms and private policy, whatever. So I'm gonna hit instead of publish here. I'm gonna hit, so this will begin. I'm gonna save and publish also the order. And the cool thing is now when I refresh here, we're gonna see how this should be changed. So we should have the role after that abstract, and also we have changed this one. So we can decide, let's say that we want another field. So let's check, I think I have already one here. So I want to create a new text area that is gonna be a say what you want. And I can just put the same label. Then here, whatever, say what you want, happy face, and it is not gonna be required. So like saving this, what we're gonna do is like add a new form, in this case, this area after the checkbox. So we can put it before the checkbox. Whenever we hit save and publish, we are gonna have that here available, which is awesome because you can decide what it goes. Here it is. So now let's say that I want to submit my tool because I'm running out of time. So let's say that I'm gonna do Carlos Rufo, that is gonna be Carlos at graphcms.com. I think I have the title, the GraphQL native headless CMS. I can get the description. And then I'm software engineer, and I am super happy with the very first GraphQL Texas meetup. And then I'm gonna create and I'm gonna submit. Let's hope that it works. I think it works. So form submitted, we will be in touch. So then now we can check the content view, and if everything went well in the submission, we should have a submission with the data. And here we have all the data as we have added. And from here, we can, after that, we can do a lot of stuff, because I was thinking on that you can match, if you have the same ID, you can match the same form data to create, instead of like form submission, you can create a talks or even, talks here. But yeah, like there are like a lot of work to do. So to finish off my talk, what I'm gonna do is put these, I guess, these pull requests, because I love to contribute with the open source. So I'm gonna open the pull request that is here. I'm gonna open a new pull request, and I'm just gonna say from the master, in this case it's no master, this will be this one to here. We can see here the div, so anybody can check it out. I'm gonna just submit it to the master. Yeah, I guess there is no development, to the main GraphQL set side, field call for paper, and I'm gonna just create a draft pull request, and I guess I can assign it to someone in the team. I'm not sure if I can or not, but yeah, it's already open, so the people, they can just like look at it. There's like 5 comments. Anybody, I'm gonna just put this on the chat, and I guess that should be everything for me today. This is
awesome.
Here. And I'm not sure if we have like time for QA or not, but yeah, happy
let's
to
go
answer
for it.
any question.
Go for it.
Awesome. So first, I would like to kind of like see like the timing for the book. I feel like TC case is right. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think we did the math wrong in our head.
So it was 2.48 minutes, right? 2 seconds. It's 148 seconds. That might make sense, right? Yeah. 148 seconds. Wow, that's pretty fast. No, but it was 2.7 or 2.8. I don't remember though. 168. We can check it out later. But yeah, 168. Yeah, I think that this case is right. So in 180 seconds, we were able to create a full blog post, and that was great. Yeah, 180. Yeah, I think it was the first bet, and it was right.
TC, right? Yeah. TC.
Yeah, TC was like the first person that the answer, and it was right. Yeah, so I think he got it. Yeah. I didn't even see 180. Yeah. I think it was like 1.2 minutes, right? 1.2, no, 1.2 something. Yeah.
Yeah, TC was like the first guess. It was at the very top, right under Adam's post about free stickers. So.
Yeah, 163. Yeah, 123. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, 163. Yeah, I think like Patrick, he just answered. So I guess for TC Casey, the book, so I will try to read out, and I will give it to him. So is there any question, Patrick, Andrew? I can see. I cannot see any question yet.
Yeah, I don't see any questions yet. I think there was an ask for the pull request, so I posted it here so people can go take a look. That was crazy, man. You got a ton done in very little time. It's amazing how much you've done with Graph CMS. Yeah,
this is like super fast, and I just like I just submit the pull request, so you can just check it out. There are like a lot of stuff to do. You're gonna do kind of like the backend side work that I can like pair with you and let you know like which model you're gonna add. But there is a nice tutorial where you can see all the info, because I was just following step by step, which is Graph CMS next form. I just gotta put it in the chat, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, and we'll be posting a video of this on Twitter as well. If you guys aren't already following, there's a GraphQL_TX on Twitter. So we'll be posting a link to the video on YouTube after the talk. So if anyone wants to rewatch it or anything, it'll all be there. So awesome. Thanks so much, Carlos. This was great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I feel like we don't have any, but I can see Nader here, so he can also do a quick setup about his audio. And if you have any question, Nader, that'd be awesome to hear it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I live here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I think my talk is going to it's going to pair very well with Carlos because we're both
Oh, that's
building
awesome.
things very quickly and we're using some really amazing, services behind the scenes. So that was a really great talk. Thanks, Carlos.
No, thanks to you guys. I think it was like a really good to kind of like set this up, the meetup. It is difficult times. I'm a GraphQL meetup organizer, GraphQL Madrid, and it is like super difficult to find a speaker and to set up. There are like a lot of work behind the scenes. So thanks so much for the organizer to invite me, and it was a total pleasure to be part of the very first GraphQL Texas meetup.
Thank you. Thank you. We'd love to have you back soon.
That'd be awesome.
So before moving on to the next talk, I think it might make sense to give everyone a couple minutes just to run to the restroom, grab a cup of coffee, that kind of thing. So if everyone wants to do that, why don't we reconvene here in just a couple minutes?
Yeah, how about Nader can start here in about 4 minutes or so. We'll start at 1 p.m. Central.
Perfect. I'm going to grab coffee as well.
Cool.
Awesome. Me too. See you soon, guys.
Thanks, Carlos. All right, it is 1 o'clock. So I am going to introduce Nader Davitt here, and he is going to be our next speaker on the topic rapidly prototyping. So I will hand it over to Nader now.
Cool. Thank you so much. And like Carlos mentioned, it's an honor to be here at the very first meetup of a meetup, you know, the very first edition. Hopefully we'll set a good standard for a bunch of, you know, future meetups, hopefully in person once everything is back to normal. I hope everything is okay in Texas where you are with the hurricane and everything.
Yeah, we're in Austin, but we're not supposed to get really anything. But yeah, praying for everybody else. It's a little on the coast and obviously in Louisiana as well.
Okay. I wasn't sure, yeah, how things were there, but that's good to know. I have some family that's in Lake Charles, and then pretty much all of them like left and went somewhere else pretty much. And then I have some other family in Shreveport, and they stayed there.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, we'll see. Hopefully everything, like you said, everyone's safe.
Yeah, yep.
Sure.
So yeah, so I can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, let's do this.
Cool. And it's cool to see Andrew here. I feel like I know you just from following you so much on Twitter. So yeah, really cool to see you here as well. You're one of the organizers, right?
Yeah. My company BoltSource, we organize it for now. So we are looking for other organizers to help out, but yeah, for now it's just us.
Okay, cool. Amazing. All right. Yeah. So I guess I'll share my screen and I'll just go ahead and get started. So share screen. This looks like it's working. And I will go ahead and turn this full screen. Okay, cool. So does that look all right for everyone?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, so like they mentioned, this is rapidly prototyping. I also kind of talk a little fast sometimes. So I hope I can, I'm gonna be cognizant of that and try to slow it down and try to cover as much as possible, but I do have a lot to cover. So my name is Nader Davitt. I'm a web and mobile developer by trade, but right now I work as a senior developer advocate in AWS. And you typically think of AWS as a backend infrastructure DevOps type of company, but my entire team is actually focused on building tooling for front-end developers and full stack developers. So most of my team comes from that background. They're either full stack or front-end developers. So it's pretty cool. We're growing like crazy. We're hiring. If you're interested, reach out to me. We have all types of positions open, some remote, US. I'm also an author, and Carlos gave away one of my books earlier. This is my most recent book. It covers a lot of the stuff we're talking about here today, building apps on AWS with GraphQL, React, and using managed services, using serverless type of services. So when I talk about rapid prototyping, we've definitely heard this term before, and you typically think of a rapid prototyped application or the outcome of one of those as something that's not of good quality, right? I looked up the definition of this, and there was like actually no definition. There was just a lot of different, definitions that were not consistent, I guess you could say. But the best I could come up with was the process, and this is in the context of software development, the process of developers quickly creating prototypes and simulating the future state of a website or system. Now, the most important thing to me here is simulating, because when you think of a simulation, you don't think of an actual thing. You think of more of like a prototype. Again, you don't think of like the finished product. So a prototype might be considered not production ready, not scalable, fragile, and you can assume that at some point it's going to need to be rewritten. But I think the point of my talk today is, what if we can actually build these rapid prototypes that actually scale, and we could continue that rapid iteration process? How could we do that using tooling, modern tooling, and GraphQL? So what has changed to make me say that? Well, the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on is the idea of serverless computing. And when I say the idea of serverless computing, in the past, the idea, when serverless first came out, it was tied very closely to functions as a service. So serverless functions, that's kind of where it came from for the most part. The term was maybe coined a lot, even further back than that. But the first application that you saw with mass adoption was around serverless functions. But now really serverless computing is focused more around a philosophy of using managed services and not writing things from scratch. taking advantage of someone else's machine that is going to only cost you the amount of compute that's being used versus kind of provisioning a server and paying for that server regardless if you're using it or not. So if you look at, to me, one of the most interesting real academic research papers that was out there is from Berkeley, Cloud Computing Simplified. I think it was February of 2019. They actually redefined the definition of serverless computing to be a combination of backend as a service, functions as a service, and managed services. So all of these things kind of are encompassing. And when you kind of build in this philosophy, you're saying that if something is already there and I could take advantage of it, I'm not going to write it from scratch. I'm going to assume that that service is only going to charge me for my usage. So if I build a massive application and I don't have any users, then it should be free or close to free. So what are some of the benefits around serverless computing? At scale, you know, when you talk about serverless computing, also you see all types of different things that are in this term now. People are just using it, and it's great. But I think you should consider the main thing around serverless that a lot of people don't get right, or when they're marketing their things, is scale and cost. Because if it is serverless, it should not cost you anything unless it's being used, and it should scale by default. And a lot of times when people build on top of the cloud providers, it becomes harder to do that because they are essentially adding their abstractions on top of it and marking it up 10x. But there are companies out there that are doing this in a good way, and I think that are doing it in a cheap way. But when you think of serverless, you think of less complexity, less code, and those things are tied together, of course. And all of these things are kind of tied together in reality. Developer velocity, when you're not having to write these things from scratch and you're able to take advantage of existing things that are already out there doing what you'd like them to do, you move at a faster clip, a faster pace. Lower cost because you're not actually paying, again, for the infrastructure. You're only paying for what's being used. And going back to that paper that I mentioned, one of the big predictions for the future of computing and cloud computing in general is that serverless computing is going to outpace server full computing to the point where regardless it will be cheaper even at when used at 100% capacity in the future. So in the future you could say, okay, even if I actually know my usage, it still is going to be cheaper to use serverless. Another reason why I think serverless is something that you can jump on to future-proof yourself. And also when you're working with a managed service, typically you have an entire team that is focused on managing and building that service over the course of years. And they've hit all these different edge cases. And by default, you can assume that most of these services are going to be more stable and secure than if you stood one up yourself from scratch. Because not only do they have that long experience, but they've also had people come at it from all these different angles. And they've been able to kind of see all of these unknowns that you just don't know about, and they've been able to address those. So a lot of times, these managed services, for the most part, are going to be more stable and secure. So to me, the most important part of this, though, is the developer velocity piece, because, well, I'll go over some of these things in the future, but in general, I'm a big proponent of moving fast and being efficient, being able to do more things with less time and less effort has been kind of a very important part of how I've focused my own career. And a lot of the most successful people that I've seen and a lot of the most successful companies that I've worked with also kind of focus on this, and the outcome is usually good. But what are the challenges around this? Well, this is a really good example of someone that is extremely, extremely smart, that someone that I look up to and I always have, and is probably one of the best engineers out there. And he had first started to look into serverless computing back in March of 2019. It looks like about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And he said he spent 3 hours with one of the smartest engineers that he knows. So 2 really smart engineers trying to follow the Lambda docs, and they never got it up and running. And they said it was one of the worst developer experiences they've ever encountered. So the challenges to me in the past, in general, that you could think of around serverless are kind of that developer experience, the high barrier to entry for a true scalable serverless application. To kind of understand everything that's there, it's kind of tough. The tooling has not been there, and local testing has also not been, I would say, to the point where people are happy with it. There's been a lot of improvements though, around all this, but it all kind of comes down to the developer experience and the high barrier to entry, in my opinion. So what are the challenges though when it comes to full stack development, building full stack serverless applications when you're working across the front end, the back end? Well, a lot of these are not just applied to serverless, they're just challenges, period. Working with multiple platforms. So traditionally, 10 years ago, you built for maybe one platform. Now you're building for iOS and Android and web, and you might even have additional targets. The SDK documentation is typically fragmented for working with a lot of these managed services. So if you need to understand how to make API calls to some managed service from iOS and from Android and from the web, it's been very hard to kind of get that consistency and keep the feature parity across different platforms. Authentication and authorization and understanding how to sign headers, work with tokens and things like that and make those integrated into the backend system has been really hard. That goes along with the security concerns. And then typically the front end and the back end documentation has not been cohesive. So if you're a back-end developer and you're experienced with serverless, you could probably go in and understand what's going on. But if you're a front-end developer and you don't kind of already have that pre-existing knowledge, it's kind of tough for you to go in and do that, and vice versa. If you're a back-end developer and you want to now interact with the services that you've created, it's been traditionally kind of tough to kind of see exactly how to do that. So what are some of the solutions here? Well, to me, the idea, this is kind of like a futuristic, I would say looking view of everything, but it's already happening now, is this idea of full stack cloud and full stack serverless. And some of the characteristics of this paradigm is going to be end-to-end tooling. So you have tooling that builds out not only the front end, but also the back end infrastructure and allows you to manage everything in a cohesive environment. Client SDKs that support all of the different platforms that integrate well with the actual APIs and services, managing things like the headers and the proper authorization headers and the proper ID tokens and any arguments that need to be passed in are kind of all baked into the SDKs. A cohesive documentation that show you how to get the end-to-end solution running both on the front end and the back end. And therefore, we have higher level abstractions that kind of allow this. And then escape hatches for whatever serverless solutions that you're using don't already support. So the problem a lot of times with these higher level abstractions is that you're locked into their implementation. But the key here is when you're building out these abstractions to have some type of escape hatch that allow you to add the feature that isn't yet supported, and or at least get the thing accomplished in some way for things that are not supported. Because when you're building these abstractions, you cannot keep up with the underlying things that you're abstracting away. It's just impossible. So you have to have these good escape hatches. And I think what this is starting to lead to is this idea of a feature team versus a platform team, or a feature developer versus a platform developer. And this is something I'm especially seeing with these very high velocity startups that are coming out of Y Combinator that we're working with, or it doesn't, not just Y Combinator, but the Y Combinator type of accelerators, that they're building these prototypes and they are trying to be as efficient as possible on the engineering side. So therefore, they're trying to use the least amount of resources possible. A lot of the tooling that you're seeing now is actually allowing this. And it's allowing them to do this in a way that is actually scalable. It's not just, they're not just building prototypes. The end thing that they're coming, that they're building is actually something that they can continue to iterate on and be like the core piece of their company. And I think this is going to be changing kind of the way that engineering teams are structured. And you're going to now start seeing this idea of a cross-stack engineer, a full-stack serverless engineer, a full-stack engineer that's like focused on the cloud. And they are going to be doing things that are that you would typically have broken up into two teams. So in the past, you might have been like, okay, I need a front-end developer to implement this feature, and I need the back-end developer to build the API for this feature. And they're going to be asynchronously communicating, and there isn't going to be a solid cohesiveness between the two people And to build that, it's going to take time because, this person's going to have a question and then this person's going to have to address that question, answer it. But what if that one person could build both features and do so efficiently and do so in a way that is actually scalable? That's kind of where I'm starting to see. And we have some really, really successful companies that have actually, that are actually already working this way. But I'm seeing it more and more in some of the newer companies. Enhanced developer velocity and experimentation kind of go hand in hand. So one of the big things when you're building in this startup culture, the startup environment, when you have people that are coming out of everywhere trying to compete with you, is this idea of opportunity cost. And the faster that you can build and experiment, the bigger of a leverage that you have over your competitors, because you can try new things out, and when things work, you can continue to improve on those things. And to be able to do so faster, it just puts you ahead of your competitors. And the idea of a front-end developer taking the existing skill set that they have and being able to build these full stack applications is also something that you're seeing happen in this ecosystem. So one of the things, I would say, you're seeing AWS, which is what I'm going to talk about in just a moment, tackle this, but you're also seeing Azure and GCP addressing this big time with their investments in Firebase and their addition of cloud functions and a few other cloud features. And from what I understand, they're trying to also enable infrastructure as code for Firebase. I don't know if that's true or not. But you also see a bunch of startups out there that are doing this. So Versal, Netlify, 8base, Begin. A lot of companies are building on top of the cloud for this similar experience. Some are focused on certain areas and others are focused on other areas. But in general, it's kind of leveraging this philosophy in some way or another. But the team that I work on and what I'm going to talk about today with GraphQL Transform Library and kind of rapidly prototyping an app is Amplify. You've probably heard me talk about Amplify if you follow me on Twitter. It's a combination of tools. It's a CLI and a client and a hosting service. So the CLI allows you to create updates, services, and it also does a lot of local tooling like GraphQL code generation and stuff like that. We have client library support for Flutter, React, React Native, iOS, Android, all of the major web clients and web frameworks. And then the hosting service is a static site hosting service. The categories that we support are kind of listed here, and each category may have a couple of different features within the category. So what we're going to be talking about today is GraphQL, which is as a managed GraphQL service called AWS AppSync. And within that, within the support that we have for GraphQL, we have this library called GraphQL Transform that works along with the CLI, the Amplify CLI. So when you think about building a GraphQL database, you have to think about, a GraphQL server, you have to think about the database, the resolvers, and the schema, mapping it all together, making it scale, hosting it somewhere, dealing with authentication and authorization and all of the rules around that. You have to deal with security, malicious queries, all of this stuff. There was a tweet that I saw a few days ago where someone tweeted out a video that he made, I think Adam Wolf, where he kind of went over like for 20 or 30 minutes all the challenges for building a server. And I think once you actually build a real GraphQL server in a real production environment with a real need to scale, you start realizing how complex it is. So a lot of these GraphQL as a service provide tremendous value because they've tackled this and they're dealing with all of these issues for you. Now, the problem is if you're using these services, how much can you break out of them to add your own business logic and have control over them? I think that's kind of what you would look at when you're considering a GraphQL as a service. And anyway, so AppSync is the one that we have, and using this library called the GraphQL Transform, we can take a really basic GraphQL schema and build out this scalable infrastructure. We're talking about things like DynamoDB, the same database that Netflix and Amazon even uses. We're talking about things like S3 and all of these really scalable services that were traditionally kind of hard to get up and running with, I think, for a lot of front-end developers. We're bringing them down and kind of making them a little more accessible. Using the GraphQL Transform library, though, you can decorate your GraphQL types to add a bunch of different functionality. So you would take your GraphQL schema, you would add your directives to it. You essentially run this kind of build, and the build is actually a kind of CLI program that introspects your GraphQL schema and then creates infrastructure as code for you. And then you deploy that infrastructure as code and you have your service updates. So some of the directives that we're going to go over today and then I'm going to demo are the @model directive. The @model directive creates a database schema and resolvers for a base type. So for a product type, you might assume that you want to create, read, update, delete, and list products. You might also want to subscribe to a new product being created or a product being updated or deleted. You also assume that you need the resolvers to map to a data source and you need a database. Using this @model, we'll create all that stuff for you under the hood. The database is DynamoDB, and this is kind of what you get. You get all of this, and you also get the subscriptions. And these subscriptions, we've seen them scale in production environments. A lot of companies like Ticketmaster are using them, 10 million to 50 million connected clients at a time. Very highly scalable out of the box. The next one that we're going to look at is the @connection directive. This directive allows you to create one-to-many and many-to-one and many-to-many relationships, any type of relationship you would need. So a post might have many comments. Using this @connection, the library will automatically, or actually the CLI will automatically build out the proper resolvers to kind of make this connection. And then, of course, if you have any custom business logic, the resolvers can be updated with your own custom business logic. The @auth directive allows you to define authorization rules. So for instance, if you're building out something like a blog or Instagram or Twitter, you have this idea of public and private access. How would you actually model that? You could use these auth rules to kind of create that. And we're going to be taking a look at that in just a moment as well. We also have stuff for just taking a GraphQL query or mutation and mapping it to a Lambda function. And to do that, you would just use its @function directive and set the name of the function there. And then we would map all of the arguments into that Lambda function event. And in the event, you can then do whatever you would like. You could call a service, or you could do some calculation, and then you would just return the result. And that would be the integer value here, or whatever type, GraphQL type, or whatever you would like to return there. And then the last one I'll take a look at is the HTTP resolver. It's just a really easy way to bring in microservices into a GraphQL schema. So if you have a microservice architecture, you want to migrate to GraphQL, you can just set up whatever existing REST endpoints you have and make them available as GraphQL operations. So the thing that I'd like to do is show how we can build a serverless live streaming platform with real-time comments in just a few minutes, maybe in about 10 minutes. Or 15 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to take, something like that. And to do that, I'm starting off with kind of a base application. So the app that I'm starting off with is this React app, where we have a profile with nothing there, and we have a stream. And the stream is going to be something like Twitch, where we have this would be like the stream video stuff, and this would be the comments here. But we want to build this out, and we also need authentication. So I'm going to kind of show how we might do this. And what I'm going to use is Amplify CLI, like I kind of talked about a moment ago. And to do that, I'm going to kind of be in this React application. And the React application has two main components. It has this auth component that doesn't really do anything yet. And it has this app component where we have a couple of divs, one for the video player and then one for the comments. So pretty basic stuff. But what we want to do is we want to add the video service, we want to add the comments, and we want to add authentication. So I'm going to run Amplify init, and this is going to go ahead and initialize the Amplify project. I'll give this project a name, environment a name, choose my Visual Studio Code text editor. And then it's going to recognize everything else by default. So I can just choose the defaults. It knows that we're in a React application, gives us the proper paths and stuff like that. And then finally, we're going to be asked for a profile, for AWS profile. And this is just a user that you'd like to use that I've configured locally already. So I'll choose yes to this and just choose my default profile. And this is kind of a user that I've created in US East 1. And then while that's creating, I want to create the video streaming service. So to do that, I'm going to go to the AWS Management Console, and the same platform that Twitch is built on was recently made as a service. It's called Interactive Video Service. So this is using the same infrastructure that kind of Twitch uses. And I'm going to create a new channel. And this channel is going to be called GraphQL Texas. I'm going to take the default, which is low latency and highly optimized and all of that stuff. And HD, that's what it was. Okay, so I'll create the channel. This channel has been created. Now we're given a server, stream key, and playback URL. So I'll go ahead and open OBS, and we'll try the stream out to make sure that it's working. All right, so I'm going to do settings. And what I need to do is just copy this server, paste it here, and then I'm going to copy the stream key, paste it here. And I'll start streaming. And now we should have a stream going. So I'll give this a couple of seconds. And the cool thing is we can actually view the live stream here. And we're going to be using this live stream in our streaming app. This usually takes about 10 seconds to kind of catch up. And there we go. Our stream is live and it's showing. It's going to be delayed by a couple seconds. But now that we have that, we can actually copy this playback URL and paste that here for our URL. And now we have the stream set up. And now all we need to do is set up the GraphQL API and authentication. So to do that, I'll run amplify add auth for authentication. And this is going to go ahead and walk me through a few steps. It looks like there's a new CLI available. I'll get that later. We can do a default configuration, which are basically just smart defaults for authentication. I'll use username to sign up and sign in, and I don't want any advanced settings. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this stream off for now since I'm not using it. I'm going to go ahead and run amplify add API now for the GraphQL API. And we'll choose GraphQL as the type. We can either choose GraphQL or REST. We'll give the API a name. GQL Texas is cool. Now we can choose the default authorization type and it's like the base authorization type. So this can be public, which would be an API key. It can be Amazon Cognito, which is a managed authentication service, similar to something like, I guess Auth0 or Okta, if you've used that. And then OpenID Connect allows you to bring your own, even if you are using Okta or Auth0. So I'll choose API key as the default, set a default expiration. And then I'll choose some advanced settings so we can add another authorization type, which is going to be Cognito, which is the service that I just added. So now we have public and private access on our API. I don't need conflict detection. If we wanted to make this offline, we could do that. And I don't have a schema, so I'm going to choose no. If we had one, we could just reference there. And then finally, we're just going to choose a boilerplate to kind of get started. And this is going to open up, it's going to actually first introspect the schema, which is going to then allow us to open it up in our text editor. And it'll give us kind of like something to start with. And you see that we have this @model directive, and that's the one I was talking about earlier, where we are going to be, using that to add additional stuff to our app or our API. But I want to start with a different type of schema. So we're going to have a comment type. The comment is going to have an ID, a message, an owner field, which is going to be read off of the ID token of the caller. So it's a pretty secure, we're going to be getting it in a secure way. And then we're going to add the @model directive here to add all the database and stuff that we need. And then we also need an @auth rule, or actually we need an array of rules. And the @auth rules will allow us to define that public and private access. So I'm going to say allow owner, which is going to give the owner or the creator of any object the ability to update or delete it and read it. I'm also going to say allow public for the public access, but I only want to set the operations here to read, because I don't want people, of course, to be able to update anything or even create anything if they're not signed in. I also want to do allow private, and this is going to allow people that are signed in but did not create the object to be able to read as well. So we have the 3 types of authorization: public, private, and owner. And we should be able to go now to our CLI and run Amplify push. And this is going to do a couple of things. It's going to go ahead and deploy the API to AWS. And it's also going to do GraphQL code generation in JavaScript. If I had just done Amplify push without the --y, it would have walked us through the ability to choose TypeScript or Flow. But JavaScript works good for me, and we're going to see the results of that in just a moment. So while that's deploying, what we want to do now is write some code for setting up the authentication, first of all, because when someone is creating a comment, we need to identify who that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import, well, actually, let me just start off with this whole component, and then I'll just walk through it. I'm updating the auth component with a couple of imports from AWS Amplify. So we have the auth class, which allows us to call the auth.current authenticated user method. And you'll notice that this whole authentication flow with the imports, with the React component, and 1 line of spacing is only 19 lines of code. So anyway, the auth.current authenticated user will check to see the currently signed in user. And if there is one, it will just give it to us and a promise. And what we're going to do is use that use state hook to set a user object locally. And then using that user object in our UI right here, we're going to just display that user's username. But most importantly, this is going to be where the user signs up, and we're able to kind of then use this user information back in the main app. And then the with authenticator is the way that we're actually putting the authentication flow, onto into the UI. And the with authenticator is a higher order component from the Amplify UI React library. And this just creates an entire authentication flow in front of whatever component that you wrap it in. We also have an actual component that's a component itself and not an HOC if you don't want to use an HOC. But this is just a very concise way to do it. So I'm using the higher order component. And then we have a sign out button, pretty basic. It just allows us to have a sign out button without writing too much code. I'll put that right here. And that's all we need now for the auth component. So if I go back now to my app and I refresh, I need to go ahead and restart the server. Sorry, this is my computer's running a little slow. Usually when I have OBS, or if I'm even thinking about OBS, my computer starts running really slow. Yeah, maybe I'll just kill OBS for now. I might kill a couple of these other ones too. Okay, so now that we have the app loaded, you see that we have our stream is still here, but now we have a sign in form in our profile. The next thing we want to do is we want to be able to get the user object similarly to where we did in the auth component, where we had these lines of code here. We want something like that in our other component as well. So I might just copy those lines of code, and I'm going to go here in the use effect hook, and I'm going to say auth.current authenticated user, And that way we get the user. And we're going to now also need to import that auth API. Okay, so in the profile, we're going to see if we can now sign up yet. And it looks like we can. It looks like everything's been updated. So I'm going to go ahead and create an account. Let me try this one more time. Oh, I know what I need to do. I just need to import the Amplify stuff now because we just created a new Amplify project. I need to import Amplify. I need to import the configuration that has all of the key value pairs for our resources, and then call amplify.configure. And now we should be able to do that again. All right, so when I create an account, I should get a message, MFA, with my code. And now I see that we're signed in, and I should now see this comments, form available. Now, when I wasn't signed in, if I sign out and I go back, you'll see that we're not able to comment. So we have some stuff going on to allow only people that are signed in to leave a comment. And the way that looks, it's actually pretty simple. Since we added this new use state hook, since we added the auth.current authenticated user and used the set user with the use state hook, we now have access to the user object. And we're basically saying if there is a user, then show this sign-in form. Now, what we can do now, go to create comment and see how we can create a comment. Right now, I am using the use reducer hook to kind of dispatch and add comments, type with passing in the comment to the array. So if I go ahead and create a comment, it should show up. Whoops, I need to actually add one more function here. Here. Let me see. It looks like my comment. Oh no, it's actually not that. There is something going on here. It seems to be freezing up. Let me just take one more look and see if I can figure out what's going on. Oh, I know. In my use effect hook, I don't have an array here. Okay.
So it's infinitely looping.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have a way to create comments and stuff, but nothing's showing up yet. What we want to do now is create the method to actually add the comments to the API and also locally. So in this function, we first check to see if there is an input value for some basic form validation. We then take the message off of there and we dispatch locally, add comment. And then in the UI, we need to now map over those comments. So all I'm going to do now is say something like, let's see here, state.comments.map. And here I'll just have something really basic with the message and the owner. And I might make this like paragraph. Okay, so we have that working locally. Now we just need to actually call the API with that. So what we need to do now is I'm going to go ahead and import, first of all, the GraphQL operations, because now if we go to our GraphQL folder, you'll see that we have mutations, queries, and schema and subscriptions that were created for us by the CLI. So I just want to import, let's see here, import create comments, list comments, and on create comment. So we have the query, mutations, subscriptions. The first thing we'll do is we'll create the mutation, and I'll say awaits API.GraphQL. Query is going to be create comments. Variables, it's an input of message. And that's going to be this message value here. And then this is going to create the comment in the API. The next thing we want to do is actually fetch the comments. So what I'm going to do here is dispatch locally after the comments come back. And for the query, I'm just going to say const comment data is equal to await API.GraphQL. Query of list comments. I think that is the name of the query. Let me double check. Yeah, list comments. So now I should be able to go ahead and let me go ahead and import that API. So I'll say comment 1. And let's see what's going on here. I know one more thing I need to add, actually. We need to add the auth mode. I think it's Amazon Cognito user pools. You know what? I can actually just create, let me just double check because I have this saved somewhere. Yeah, that's the right auth mode. Okay. Since we have a default authorization mode of API key, then we need to override that with basically that. All right, so now our comments are working. The last thing we want to do is subscribe to comments in real time. So I'm going to create a function called subscribe. And here I'm going to create a subscription. And we're using the same API.GraphQL interface, or the same API. All we're doing now, instead of it being a promise, it's going to be, we're going to call .subscribe, pass in the query. Now, anytime someone creates a comment, this next function will fire. When the next function fires, we get the comment data passed in as an argument. And then it's up to us to kind of handle all of that. So let me delete some unnecessary code and kind of see what's going on here. We have 3 cases we need to think of now. If the user is signed in, then we first want to make sure that the user that created this comment isn't us, because if it is, we've already created an optimistic response, so we don't need to show it in the UI. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We discard if we created that message. If not, we dispatch to our local state. If there is an error, which basically means we are trying to get the user information for someone that is not signed in, all this means is that they're not signed in, and we do also want to dispatch to get that new comment. So what I can do now is open up another window, and we should have subscriptions running. And before I do that, let me open up OBS so we can get the full effect. And this is going to be it. So I'll go ahead and click Start Streaming. All right, so now we have, you see that I'm not signed in here, but I am signed in here. So if I create a comment in real time, then it should show up over here. We see that happening, but the stream isn't coming through there yet, just yet. There it goes.
Inception.
That's it. So now we have kind of our miniature ugly version of Twitch going on, and it only took us really about 15 minutes to build that. So that's it. I don't have anything else. I know I kind of went maybe slightly over time, but thank you. That was really fun. And yeah, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now.
Thanks a lot, Nader. So does anyone have any questions? Cool. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and we're gonna.
There's one. Angular related Amplify examples.
So if the question is, do we have Angular related Amplify examples? I mean, we have basically getting started guides and platform specific documentation for pretty much all the frameworks in our main documentation. But as far as like end-to-end example applications, there's so much surface area that we try to cover in our docs. We probably can't cover, a lot of end-to-end examples, but if you kind of, I guess, look at maybe different places, I guess on like dev.to and also Medium, there's a lot of people writing about those, and they have released some open source stuff. But us, like as a team, we have a lot of platform specific stuff, but I wouldn't say we have a ton of end-to-end examples right now, especially for Angular. We do have a little bit going on for React.
Cool. Okay. Anything else before we're going to take a few minute break, and then Gabo will be up next. So thanks so much, Nader. Really, really, really appreciate it. Happy to have you on here, and hopefully we can have you on again soon.
That's it for me. Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll see you both after the break, I guess.
Hey, Nader, I got a quick question. Were those black lights behind you?
It's actually this. Can you still see me?
Yes, I can.
It's this like light strip I bought off Amazon. It comes with a controller. Actually, it's like $30 for everything, and you can actually switch up different colors and.
Oh, it's like a NeoPixel. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I've enjoyed it.
Cool. Okay. Well, we will go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started with Gabo at 1:53. That'll give us 5 minutes. So let's all touch base again in 5 minutes or so.
Oh, also, we're going to be giving away coffee mugs, t-shirts, stickers, that kind of thing, and the BoltSource community Slack channel. So if you aren't already there, I'm gonna put our landing page here. There's a link on our landing page to join the community Slack channel. So do fill out that form, and we'll send you an invite.
Let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to be introducing Gabo, who's actually an engineer at BoltSource. And he is going to kick off the talk for GraphQL and TypeScript code generation. So as Andrew said, we are going to be giving away stuff in our Slack community. I'm going to be posting a link here in a few minutes that will have a link to our store, and we're going to be giving items away for free there. So, and Gabo, I really hope that's not your backyard, but you never know in Costa Rica. So I will hand it over to you now.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately not. That's fake, but it's nice and sunny. So yeah, I work at BoltSource, and today I want to share with you a few tips on how to streamline TypeScript types generation out of your GraphQL schemas. I have a simple example we're going to use.
That's amazing.
So we've been asked to create a landing page that lists all the characters of the Rick and Morty series. So fortunately, someone created the Rick and Morty API, which is GraphQL based. So that's great because that allows us to leverage all the GraphQL benefits. Those being that it's explorable, auto document, it auto documents, and it has a great tool for interacting with it. Here I can just get all the episodes and without the IG and episodes. And request only the things that I'm interested in, right? That's the benefits of GraphQL, right? And that allows to build software that is much more performant and remove all the chattiness in other applications. And on the front end, we are going to use TypeScript, which is a JavaScript superset that allows you to type your variables in JavaScript. And I highly recommend you to use this if you haven't yet. I wrote JavaScript for around 9 years without TypeScript, and I was reluctant to change, but once I changed to TypeScript, now I miss it when I don't have it because it gives you a lot of insight and it's just very convenient. The developer experience is much better, and it gives you more confidence because we're catching a lot of errors at build time, not at runtime. So I created a basic React app with the create React app generator using the TypeScript template, and added Apollo to the Apollo client to the application. I'm using hooks, so I need to create an Apollo client and provide that through a React provider. And I'll always use this app provider pattern to put all my providers there.
Hey, Gabo, can you increase the font size a little bit?
Sure.
By a little bit, I mean like double it.
Better?
One more time, I think. There we go. That's good.
Okay. And yeah, so that's what's going on there. In here we have the application, use motion style for creating containers, and then we define the query, right, that we want to run to list the characters, which is this one. We can run it on the graphical interface. So we're defining the query with the GraphQL function of line. And then we have our React component that is using the use query hook, and we're passing our query to it. That returns us, this is the standard Apollo line query hook that gives us loading error data. If it's loading, we display the loading state. If there's an error, let the user know that there was an error. And once we get the data, we're just stringifying the result for now. That's what we have here. Yeah, so this is what we have. And we have the data, right? We're almost there. However, there's a problem with this setup. If I hover over data, it says 8. So here on my editor, well, I don't have any idea what's inside of this. I'll have to go back to docs, the explorer, and see what's coming in. And that's not ideal. And we are also losing the benefits of TypeScript type checking. So what we want is to have these responses typed so that we can leverage the intelligence and all the benefits of TypeScript. We could define our types, our types here on the application. So type, that's character response. And I'll put it here. You can, when using TypeScript and using this hook, you can specify the response and the arguments that it takes, right? So you could do that, but I mean, it's a lot of work and it doesn't make any sense because we already have the schema. So what we want is to use this existing schema to generate other types. And there's a tool that allows to do that. It's called GraphQL code generator. It's pretty good. It has a lot of plugins and extensions, and it allows you to generate code for different languages and frameworks. It's really complete. The one that we're going to use now is this one, the React Apollo Hooks plugin, and you can play around with this and see the output here. So in order to set that up in our project, what we want to do is first want to install the codegen, right? There are things that we need. We need GraphQL because it's a dependency, and then the CLI, right? That's the things that we want to do first. I'm just gonna open the terminal here and go ahead and add GraphQL, and we are also gonna need. I already know this, so I'll just jump right now, copy paste the React Apollo component. Right, so this is what we're gonna need. Install that. I'm installing it because there's a wizard that you can use like npx, right? But, for some reason, it's not installing the dependencies. So it's like why that's why. But I'm gonna use this next once it finishes. And yeah, we don't want to create types, duplicate types in that way, but we've done that work. Get this installed. A second. So the problem that we have here is that if I wanted to iterate over the data, I don't know what's inside of this in the response, right? We don't have any suggestions when we try to for our completion. We're getting any of that. So now that we install the dependencies, we can run this command. It will display a command line wizard. It is intelligent enough to know that it's a React app. So that's fine. Enter. The schema, you need to pass the URL of your GraphQL server. And where your operations and fragments are. At the moment, we're using TypeScript, right? Here's my query, so that's what I'm going to use. Here is any folder in any TSX file. You'll look for the GQL settings and create TypeScript. And this is asking for additional plugins. We're just going to use these three operations and React Apollo, like the basic ones, and React Apollo, which is how we're using. Click enter, and this is going to generate our types on a file. That's the default. Just leave it like that. Do you want to generate an introspection file that creates the JSON file with the mirrors and remote schema? So yeah, that's handy. And the file name cogent is equal. Let's not change that. What script should you run? Okay, so this is going to create a new entry in the package JSON. Here, another script to run the types generation. I'll just call that gen. There it is. This is the command that it will run. All the configurations here. It'll output to this file using these plugins, and you'll introspect and download the schema as a JSON file. Now we should be able to run jar gen, and it will generate the, let's see what's going on. TypeScript, file matching plugin. Huh. I think this should get installed when you do it. Install this one. Sorry, it seems slow. Good job. Okay, let's try again. Try again. Let's run jar. I think it adds the dependencies, but it does not install them. Yeah, they're here. You just need, when you run the init, it adds the dependencies here, but it doesn't install them. That's what's going on. And the React Apollo, you can pass in here also custom configurations, right? Here we're using the defaults right now. You can see all the options in the web page, but you can create like higher order components if you use that. I use hooks. That's the default. Yeah, so check out these options. You might find some of those useful. We're good with default for now. And let's see if after that works. What's going on here? It's no documents and Cogent, source, TSX. Here are my TSX files. I'm not gonna waste time. I have a version that's already working. Not sure what's going on with the dependencies, but it's the same thing. So remove workspace. Yeah, so there's something going on with the dependencies there, but let's continue with the actual demo and how it works. So I have, I did the same thing here. I have the gen command here. Should work. This is weird. Let's see. It's really unexpected token. Oh, there's an error as well. You should read the error messages. Here is in app.
Looks like it's in a generated file.
That's weird, right? Why is?
You know what it might be doing? It might be trying to process the generated file after generating the generated file. You might need to ignore it.
Oh, weird thing is this was working fine. Second ago. I'm gonna just delete it for now. Ah, that's it.
You might have
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I'll just generate it, generation. Now, yeah, that was it. Good catch. Thanks. So you need to ignore that. Generated. I think it's in the you can specify it here probably, or through the command line. Just ignore and source generated, something like that. Let's see, ignore. Let's continue, but just need to ignore it with the right flag. It might be this or something. So,
Usually I just delete it and then run it every single time. So do an RM and then run it again. Just put an RM at the beginning of the code gen line.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay, back to the app. Here, I missed one step because actually I think I can just go back to the previous example. I know what's wrong now. That's better. So we can lose the. Okay. Seems, oh, this one does not have a generated. It's a different thing. Okay. Let's continue here. Okay. Remove this, and so that you see the previous step, which was having the this, which I'll just go paste the file and be good. All right. So we were here, right? And now we added the ability to generate the GraphQL. I'm gonna go back and define this TSX because that's where we were before it failed. So we're back. The point where we added the codegen script, and we can now generate our types. It's currently configured to look in TSX files. So we'll use the GQL to generate the types. And jar gen. Okay, there we go. And you can see it, it's creating the type scholars. That's types that are defined in the server in the GraphQL schema, but don't really have a matching type on browsers. So JavaScript, they do. This tool is intelligent enough to do a right mapping, and then you have types for your queries, for your arguments, and you know, character, different types in your schema. So you get pretty much everything you need, and also by default you'll create Apollo hooks named for each query. So first, I'm going to show you like how you do it without the hook. If you were to just take the types that are generated, you would define here. This is still any, right? So you need to define what it returns and what any arguments that it takes, and the codegen will create types for your queries based on this name you give it. So you want to pick that name and look for the right type. And this is get characters query. This is the type that it was generated automatically for us, and you can specify here that's the type that you expect, and should also get arguments. Let's see what's the right name for that. I think it's get characters. Yes, you can import it. This is what it just did. Fix, and okay, it has a different name. The arguments for this get characters arguments. What are the arguments here? Query variables. I think this is the one. Okay. And now it says it's of type get characters query or undefined. Undefined because you know what it has. It's an asynchronous call, so it will be undefined until it returns. So let's check here what it looks like. Produce data that gives me now intelligence. That's what we were what we wanted. Now I can work easily here and know what to expect, and work more easily with the data that's given to me with GraphQL. Okay, I want a arrow function here that returns a line. And inside of that, let's see, should get a character here. And that should be typed as well, hopefully. Character dot name. Awesome. And types, well, I think it's actually 6, yeah. This means this question mark, it's the same as doing check for existence, you know, the same as doing data and data characters. You could do that, and for this particular variable data, you can also just check if it exists. If there's no data, then this is still loading. If there hasn't been any error, and this becomes unnecessary because TypeScript should possibly undefine. Not data. We should understand that you can always tell it like that. I know for sure this is going to be there because I'm checking here.
I think line 32 needs to be an or.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was it. I was wondering why, but yeah, now it works. Now it doesn't complain because we're checking and returning. Yeah, and now we have types on our application that are based on the GraphQL schema. We can leverage the hooks that are provided in the generated code to do basically the same. You know, it generates a custom hook that you can use instead of all this. You can simply hold the hook, import it, don't get this anymore. Okay, now you run it. Should join it. And you can see you're still getting the same intelligence in type information. Okay, let's refresh this. I think I'm using well. All right, here we go. We have the list of the characters. We need a key. That's unique. You can use the character name. And now we are not using these get characters. So it doesn't really have to, like there's no reason now to have this query here. What you can do if you're using the hooks, you can extract this into a GraphQL file, GraphQL, and put your query there. Let's copy and paste the query, right? And get rid of this. And now for this to be generated out of our GraphQL file, we need to change that in the code configuration here, document. So now instead of looking for GQL tags, just look for WP files. Remove this. Generate again. Boom. We have it. It's the same result now using different file name and different files. It's I think we're done. We have everything we wanted. We're displaying the list of characters of Rick and Morty, and we now know how to use automatic types from the GraphQL schema and automatic hooks to streamline development. And that's it. That's all how you can quickly get your types ready for your client applications based on the GraphQL schema that was defined. You can also use this on the server. If you want to type your resolvers, there's a plugin for that. Types with resolvers, operations. So it works both for the backend and the server and also other languages. So that's it. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Gabo. Does anyone have any questions about this? It's a super cool way to save on the amount of code you write. So Giancarlo asks, are you posting the code to GitHub?
Yeah, let's do it right away. GitHub, BoltSource. Create a new one called GraphQL Texas. GraphQL Texas, right? Public. Oh. Okay. Here it is.
Carlos Rufo asks, were you using TypeScript before GraphQL? How was the transition from REST to GraphQL and so AutoGen TS?
No, I was not using TypeScript before GraphQL. I started to use both at the same time. And yeah, from REST to GraphQL, it's one of those things that when you use it, you don't want to go back. It was, it was a good transition. Now, if I can, I always default to GraphQL. If there are microservices that you call to REST, RPC endpoints, that's fine on the backend, but for front-end applications, that's very, very, very different experience. It's much easier to develop. And it also provides a lot of flexibility and robustness with, it's self-documented and everything in one place, one source of truth. It's very powerful. Yeah, that's what I enjoy the most, the DX definitely. On both GraphQL and TypeScript definitely change the way you write code.
Yeah, any other questions? All right, cool. Thank you so much, Gabo. Awesome job on the talk. It was very informative. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you back here at the next meetup.
Sure, it was great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll let Adam take it from here. Just want to post one more time. If you go to BoltSource.io, you can join our free developer Slack community, and we have lots of swag we're giving away. So we'll be doing that for the rest of the afternoon. So feel free to hop on. And all right, Adam, you ready?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Andrew. Thanks, Gabo. And thanks to both Carlos and Nader for joining and talking in their respective areas. And thank you everybody for joining. We're going to be doing this, like I said, on a monthly basis. So at the end of each month, we're going to be hosting one of these, which will have, we've already been able to confirm with like Sonnet, was it SonnetDB, Andrew?
Yeah, FaunaDB, Adam Rakis from Riot Games, and I forget the third, but there's another big one. I forget. Fauna, Adam Rakis, and I thought there was one more, but I can't remember who it is. So.
Yeah, it's from a local company here in Austin. They do something with, it starts with a Y, but I think they do something with like technology in your home and connecting all the different platforms for smart devices. So we look to continue to have really, really solid speakers going forward. And like I said, we're also going to be doing this with React Texas, probably starting here in the next couple of months. So be on the lookout for that. That's also on our website, BoltSource.io. And yeah, that's everything. Thanks again for everyone joining, speaking, and have a safe and happy rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thank you.